Now, I wanted to start our lesson today by just reviewing and reminding you of two sisters that we met in the fall when we first started to do our units of study. Okay, remember Evie and Ella? Evie likes to give evidence and Ella likes to elaborate on that evidence. Well, Miss Hoffman, one of the teachers here, one of the fourth grade teachers here, has created a PowerPoint that I can show you to remind you about Evie and Ella. And remember, the idea here is to be able to visualize Evie and Ella. Evie's sitting on one of your shoulders, Ella's sitting on the other shoulder, and they're having a conversation. All right, they're whispering in your ear as you're writing your body paragraph so that you know what to say. Okay, so let's remember. Evie loves to read. She loves to research. She likes to prove her points with evidence. Okay, she relies strictly on what she's learned from the text. She doesn't create anything. She doesn't make anything up. She cites her sources. She knows that it adds authority to a statement if you say where you got it. It's not just you talking. And she's confident and she enjoys being first. Then we have Ella. And Ella, she really is the one who kind of helps you to understand what all of this really means. She doesn't repeat anything that Evie says, but she says more in a way that adds more detail, explains why it's important, what it means in simpler terms, if it's complicated, what it shows or demonstrates, especially in relation to the main idea. Okay? Now, Ella likes variety. She doesn't say the same thing all the time. She doesn't say it in the same way all the time. She wants to be more entertaining. She wants to be more in line with the reader and helping the reader think in certain ways. Okay? So Ella always follows Evie's lead. So always the evidence first and then the elaboration. Okay, so let's watch them in action. Okay, and this is, I think, is a different font than what
According to source 2, squirrels sometimes chew on electrical wiring in transformer boxes and power lines. This is a problem because it can cause power outages nearby. Imagine you're in the middle of something important and the power goes out.
Okay, so notice what she did. First, Evie gave evidence. Remember, excuse me. Remember the text that we had about animals among us? The quote comes from that, about the squirrels. And then Ella elaborated on it. All right, so pay close attention. We'll have another example. Listen carefully. Don't get carried away with the cuteness and the voice. Focus on the craft, because you're going to be asked to do this.
Source 3 explains that during World War I, a pigeon delivered a message that helped American soldiers escape from their enemies.
Okay, so that's the evidence. Let's listen to what Ella has to say.
If that pigeon hadn't been there, who knows how many soldiers might have died. This story proves that pigeons can be helpful to humans.
Okay, so remember that when you're writing your body paragraphs, you want to remember what the sisters when you're writing them. Evie always comes first and shares what she's learned from the text, and then Ella follows to make sense of what Evie has said. They always are together. Okay? Remember, from the pretest, we know that we need to work on elaboration, that we're having trouble with elaboration. Okay, I'm going to show for you on the screen a chart that you actually have in your green packet. We're going to add this to what we already know about Evie and Ella, because even though we learned about Evie and Ella in the fall, we're not necessarily using Evie and Ella in our writing. So I wanted to show you this chart that you have in your green packet. Okay? Now, here are some other ways that you can provide evidence and elaboration. And this really lends itself very well to the kind of informational writing that we're doing right now. Okay? And the acronym is SPEC. Each of the letters represents something. Okay? The very first one has to do with your senses. How something might sound, or look like, or feel like, or taste like. But I would also include feelings of emotion. I would also include feelings of emotion. So you could say more about something using feelings of emotion. The P stands for two different things. Personal, like your personal life, how would it affect you personally? And policies, like what laws should there be? So if you're reading something about helmets, okay, and concussions, and how helmets can be safe, should we have a policy about all football players wearing helmets? All bicyclists wearing helmets? Okay, should we have a policy about how sports teams treat anybody who's had a head injury and how they analyze them and evaluate them for concussions? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about policies. Okay. E, you're in the environment and the economy. Now, the environment is nature, the air, the water, the trees, the rivers, anything like that. That's your environment. Okay. And then economy, that is the amount of money in a certain area. So if we're reading a text set about Amazon building another facility here in Jacksonville, and they're talking about how it's going to employ 10,000 people, how that it's going to employ a lot of people for doing construction work, how a lot of people will be moving. The economy is going to be influenced by that because people are going to be buying houses or building houses. People are going to be employed that were not employed anymore. People are going to be buying things in stores and driving on the roadways. So it's going to affect the economy. All right. All right. The C stands for a culture, a group of people, a specific group of people that it might affect. But it also talks about your community. How is that going to impact your community? That Amazon facility is going to impact our community greatly because people who own small businesses are going to be able to make more money. Real estate people are going to be able to make some nice money. Okay? Our city is going to grow, which means that there's going to be more taxes collected, which means there's going to be more money for education and taking care of the roads. So your community will be affected. Okay, so SPEC is another tool for us to use in addition to Evie and Ella that we're going to practice today before we start writing our body paragraphs. All right, so let's switch off of here and go back to the sheet that you glued into your notebook and that you have in front of you. Okay, this practice sheet was written to go along with the Volcanoes text set that we're working with. And there's a model at the very top of the sheet. So remember what comes first. What comes first, Kate? What comes first? Who can tell me? Evie comes first, right? The evidence comes first. Make sure you're paying attention, Kate. So here comes the evidence. Source 2, a force of nature, gives information about the high, and this is in the quotes, high levels of sulfur dioxide that are released into the air during a volcanic eruption. This gas, here's another quote, this gas could present a serious health risk for people with breathing problems, close the quote. Now, in a body paragraph about health risks, after you present Evie, what comes second, Kate? Ella, the elaboration. So to say more, the elaboration, this means that an erupting volcano could lower the quality of the air people breathe. Which part of the spec was that? E, right, for environment. Very good. So these toxic gases could make people very sick. All right, so those two lines after the evidence, that is what we're calling the elaboration. All right, right now I want you, above the word model there, I want you to write the word Evie, capital E-V-I-E. And then over the say more, I want you to write Ella, capital E-L-L-A. Okay, so we have an understanding of what Evie and Ella looks like. So let's practice. All right, practice number 1. to start, and I want you to notice when I pulled an excerpt from the writing, I wanted to give you the main idea sentence because I thought that it would be good for you to know what was being talked about, because your elaboration needs to match it. Okay? If you're talking about health, like we did in the first one, you're not going to talk about doctors making money. You're going to talk about health, right? You're not going to talk about the economy. All right, so let's look at this. To start, volcanoes can disrupt the routines of daily life. Source 1, Disaster Creeps In, tells about a boy named Tristan. His school was directly in the path of fiery hot lava. The school was closed, and the students were sent to different schools. Okay, so stop for a minute and think. Think about SPEC. Mrs. Rape, can we put the SPEC back underneath there? So think about the SPEC. What could we write about for our elaboration? What could we write about? Community. So we're talking about what? We're talking about Tristan having to go to different schools. So that might affect the community. It will definitely affect the learning community, right? That classroom, each classroom in that school, right? It will affect, but it may also affect the neighborhoods around there, right? Okay, something else?
Personal life.
Personal life. Tell me how that would affect someone's personal life. Okay, so they're not going to send all of the students to the same school, right? What are they going to do? They're going to, right, everybody's going to be in different schools. So let's just look at our group right here. They might send 5 of you to Twin Lakes. They might send 5 of you to Alamacani, 5 of you to Kernick Trail, 5 of you to another school, okay, until our class is scattered all over the place and not coming to the school anymore. So how is that going to affect someone's personal life? Think about what you read. Think about what you read.
They won't be with their friends and classmates anymore.
They won't be with their friends and classmates anymore, okay? They're now going to either have to make new friends, okay? They're going to have to meet new classmates, okay? Something more you want to say? Something different?
Maybe economy, because they're going to have to rebuild the school.
But what are we talking about in our main idea sentence? How it's going to affect someone's personal daily. So how does the economy have anything to do with somebody's routine of daily life?
They're going to have to buy some school supplies.
I'm not thinking that that's really the case. What about S? What about S? Talked about personal life, community. Okay, so we could tap into, Evan just said we could tap into those emotions. That sadness you might feel, that you're losing your friends, maybe lonely when you get to the new school because you don't have any new friends yet. Okay, all right, so I want you to look at practice number 1. And I want you to work with your shoulder partner, and I want you to go ahead together. I want you to write an elaboration for that first practice. Practice number 1. Okay, now shoulder partner, so how many people are working in a group? 2. So if you're in a group of 3, somebody's got to stand up. Okay, I think the 2 of you, since you're right there, you can work together, and if you turn around, Braden is right behind you. All right, go ahead and continue to work, please. Okay, I see some of you are having a hard time getting started. Boys or girls? Excuse me. Some of you are having a hard time knowing what to put down, and some of you grabbed on. I like over here Sophie and Gianna. They put down that transitional phrase, this means. Okay? So if you're struggling, remember, on your green chart of transitional phrases, there are a whole list of phrases that you can use to elaborate. You don't have it with you right now, so if you want to grab this means, or this shows, or this proves, you can grab onto that to get you started. But you could also just maybe he has to, maybe his best friend is not going to go to a school. Right? Think about, Connor, think about what we were talking about in our group, right? Before I send you to work, we already brainstormed some ideas, so I shouldn't see that you're still blank. You don't even have a prompt on there. Okay, let's share a couple of them. If you're still struggling, please listen carefully to what's being shared in the commentary afterwards. Guys, we're just learning this. We're just learning this, okay? We have to get comfortable with it. We have to practice it, all right? But we need to listen to criticism so that we can tweak our work so that it meets the standard. All right, Isabel, you want to share yours?
This means that the students that are going to another school are going to be nervous when they're making new friends.
Okay, all right. So I like the fact that you didn't use the same, you didn't say repeat any of the same words. Sohan?
If they all went to a different school, they would have to learn new material.
Well, I don't know if that's true because if you were in Duval County and you went to a different Duval County school, they're probably going to be just about in the same place. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's necessarily true. You would certainly, though, could switch new routines and rituals in school because that teacher won't do the same things. So you could revise that a little bit, not necessarily learn new materials, but learn new routines and rituals that the teacher might have. Okay, Alanis?
This shows that children will be sad because
Okay, that they have to make new friends or they have to be separated from the friends that they know. Okay, they might feel that sadness, something different. No emotion. Okay, something different. Okay, Kate?
this shows students' personal life will be affected. Students are separated from their friends and classmates.
Okay, all right, a different one.
This means that the learning community will be affected because all the people in the school will have to evacuate to a different school.
Okay, so the learning community will be affected. Okay, so they'll be located to different schools, though, right? They will be located and scattered in the area communities. Okay, all right.
This means Tristan was sad because he could not see his friends. Other students might also be scared, sad, or lonely.
Okay, I like the fact that you brought in some more text evidence that he was feeling sad. Okay, all right, let's move on to practice number 2. Could you slide that up just a little bit, please? Okay, so now we're going to move on to a different main idea and a different quote. Next, erupting volcanoes can cause health problems. Source 3 contains information about Mor Mayon, a volcano in the Philippines. Here's the quote from that. An eruption in 1993 caused 79 deaths. Caused 79 deaths. Let's think about our SPEC again. We know that the main idea of this paragraph is going to be about health risks. We know that we're giving a quote that's about deaths. Okay? Can you put that back up? Thanks. Let's look. What is one of the letters that we could use to talk about and say more? Oscar? P for what?
Personal life.
For personal life. And how could all of those deaths affect someone's personal life?
Because if like one of your best friends and family dies in the volcano, it would be sad.
Definitely. Okay, so loss, if one of the victims of that Mount Mayor was a relative of yours, it would definitely cause sadness and loss in your family. Okay, what else, Muboni?
Culture.
Culture, how could it affect the culture?
Because if lots of people in your family died, then there won't be many people in a group or in a family anymore.
Okay, and especially in the Philippines and in Hawaii, you have a very concentrated amount of culture. You don't have the mixture that you tend to see here in the mainland in our country. You tend to see like mostly Filipino, okay, mostly Hawaiian, people from Hawaiian descent, okay, and so definitely it could wipe out a good chunk of people, and a culture might suffer because there are fewer people in that culture living there. Something else?
S.
What would the S for? And be more specific to me.
Like how they
Okay, and I think Oscar touched upon that, except he used a different letter. He said personal life or your family. Okay, another one?
economy.
Economy. Tell me how that could affect the economy.
When the magma comes out of the volcano,
Mhm.
it can go it can damage the buildings which the city or government has to pay.
What you're saying is true. However, what are we saying more about? We're saying more about an eruption causing 79 deaths. So saying that it's going to affect the economy because they're going to have to rebuild the buildings doesn't really go. Can you see that? And that's a really good point because some of you are doing that. Some of you are saying more, but your more doesn't go with your quote. I think, though, that I would agree with you, Arav, that economy is one of the things we could talk about. But we just need to think about it just a little bit more. Evan?
They could like feel sadness because maybe like friends or family.
Okay, and we got that with Oscar. I know you're sitting over there. You might not have heard what he said. Okay? Ruboni?
Ralph said about economy. Well, if people die, then there won't be many people to pay taxes anymore.
Okay. So it could be because they're not living there, all right? Then they won't be shopping in the stores, they won't be paying taxes, they won't be doing things. But also, can we kind of morph Oscar's P with our E? Think about that for a second. Sohan?
Well, what's happening is to do it together. It's kind of what Magoni said. When people some people might, if their relatives are, gone or something, they might like. What I'm saying is like, if a family lives there and one person died in that family, they might move somewhere else away from the volcano. And when they move, there won't be enough people to do their jobs, like make food, make products, and even to run the government. It would just collapse.
Okay. I want you to think about the vocabulary word that you had today in social studies. Okay. So what if one of the people who gets killed in a volcanic eruption is the person who brings in the income for that family? Can you imagine in some families there's still one person who brings in the major income. Okay? Many families today have two, but even in a case like that, if suddenly one of them is not bringing the income home because they've died or they're sick, then that's going to impact somebody's family, right? There will be less money coming in, which means they might not be able to afford their rent. They might not be able to afford to buy shoes. They might not be able to afford to put food on the table. Okay? So you could definitely talk about the loss of life as a personal loss when you think about the family that loses somebody, But you can also think about it in an economic way when you think about how that's going to influence the family because that income is not going to come in. And then also what Sohan said, that person now is not doing their job. Okay? They can't do their job, so that job needs to be filled. All right. So now what I'd like you to do is go ahead and turn and talk, and I want you to write with your partner, same partner please, I want you to write an Ella for this Evie. Go ahead and turn and talk. There are two over here. You can stand up. Did you get one set? Jackson, do you have one set? Okay. Guys, generally speaking, this seemed a lot faster this time. You all kind of had a better idea about what you were doing. Let's share. Jackson, would you share yours, please?
This shows that if one of your best friends or family died, you might be sad, lonely, or mad at the volcano.
Okay. I would agree that that's saying more, but I would say that you want to remember your tone wants to be authoritative, like an authority, and that kind of pulls away from that authoritative tone, okay? All right? Yes.
It seems that volcanoes bring problems to daily life or affect the environment.
Okay, but you're not really saying more. What are we talking about here? Causing health problems. We're talking about deaths. Your say more doesn't have anything to do with dying. Right? Your say more has something to do, has more to do with the environment, and we're not talking about the environment. Kale?
This shows many people's lives have been lost and affected. It's ruined people's lives.
Say that again. I just didn't hear you loud enough.
Many people's lives have been lost and affected. It's ruined many lives.
Okay. Many people's lives have been lost and affected. It's ruined many lives. The lives of the people who died or the lives of the people who lived. Okay, so you might want to tweak that just so that we're clear. Family and friends. Okay? The lives of family and friends. All right, because they don't have them around anymore. Luke.
This shows the income bad economy will lower in the area. People die, taxes will not be paid.
Okay. I think we have to keep that more personal. Okay? 79 people dying, okay, is not going to impact the taxes that much, as it will impact the family income. So if you're going to talk about economy, you want to focus on the family income. All right? Harrison, did you want to share? I thought I saw your hand up.
Yeah. Beautiful populations can be dropped. Other people could be sad because relatives or friends might be a victim.
Okay? So other people might be sad. Sounds like we've got that one covered. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down. Listen carefully to the directions. Now, today you're going to write a body paragraph, but before you do, I want you to do practice number 3 in your book. Okay? It says, finally, erupting volcanoes are destructive. According to source 1, lava can reach 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. It also quotes Janet Babb, a scientist at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, who said, here's the quote, lava flows burn or bury whatever is in their path. Okay, so you're going to write a say more on your own without the help of somebody else. You can use your SPEC chart because you have one in your binder. Okay, but you're going to write it on your own. Keep it out and open on the corner of your desk because Mrs. Raven and I are going to go around and we're going to read them and we're going to talk to you about them. And as soon as you get that done, I need you working on your first body paragraph. I don't care where you are in the process. You've got to practice this today, right now. Okay? So as quickly as you can, finish this. Then get to your body paragraph on volcanoes. Any questions before you go to your seats? Yes, sir.
What do you do after your body paragraph?
You can continue and write body paragraph number 2. Okay? And if you do, Austin, I'm going to want to come and take a look at yours because this is an area that you need extra help with. Because your body paragraphs are a little bit thin and you kind of seem to struggle to know what to put in them. So we're going to need to do some conferencing one-on-one. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir?
No, it's very nice.
Okay, please go ahead and follow the flow this way, please.